Max Verstappen qualified 0.166 seconds off pole position in Miami, and the entire Formula One paddock just stopped to stare. The whispers about his exit, the doubts about Red Bull's collapse, the certainty that Mercedes had this championship wrapped, all of it vanished in one qualifying session. A four-time world champion, fighting for his future, staring at a 19-year-old rookie who has never led a race from the front. The data tells a completely different story. Red Bull brought a 7-part upgrade package to Miami, including a new floor and a rotating rear wing that works opposite to Ferrari's design. On its first run, that package cut the deficit from 1.9 seconds in China to a hair's breadth. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. That same upgrade, on the exact same specification car, left his teammate almost a full second behind. The real story was never about the lap time. It was about belief. And belief is the fastest car on the grid. What comes next changes everything. Red Bull's reverse rotation rear wing just exposed Mercedes' biggest fear. While Ferrari's design turns 270 degrees to maximize corner grip, Red Bull's version rotates only 160 degrees in the opposite direction, hunting straight-line speed where the W16 thought it was untouchable. This was not a small tweak. It was a direct attack on the championship leader's core strength. And it worked immediately. The data tells a completely different story. Red Bull arrived in Miami carrying 12 kilograms of extra weight, a penalty costing roughly 3.6 seconds per lap. The new package sliced that burden in half, bringing the car to within 6 kilograms of the 768 kilogram minimum. Sector analysis shows the mid-chicane gains drove the improvement, turning a 1.9 second deficit in China into a 0.166 second fight in Miami. But speed on paper means nothing if the drivers cannot extract it equally, and that is where this story gets complicated. Max Verstappen and Ishaq Hadjar climbed out of identical RB22 cars in Miami with a gap that made no sense on paper. Verstappen secured P2, just 0.166 seconds off pole. Hadjar lined up P9, almost a full second behind his teammate. Same floor, same wing, same engine. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. The data shows Verstappen needed only 3 clicks on the front wing to find balance. Hadjar required over 15 setup changes and still could not unlock the car's potential. This was not a mechanical failure. This was a driver-car mismatch that Red Bull never saw coming. Verstappen's aggressive trail-braking style feeds directly into the new floor's improved turn-in response. Hadjar's smoother technique demands more rear stability, a characteristic the upgrade did not prioritize. A 0.9 second gap between teammates is not sustainable when Mercedes and McLaren are scoring double podiums. Every race where Hadjar cannot extract the car's full potential is a gift to their rivals. And that question leads directly to the hidden weakness inside Mercedes that Miami just exposed. George Russell qualified 5th in Miami and admitted something that should terrify Mercedes. He struggles on tracks with low grip. Miami, Zandvoort, Brazil. 3 races where his smooth, precise style cannot extract the W16's full potential. The gap to his rookie teammate, Kimi Antonelli, was 0.41 seconds. Not a setup issue. Not a bad lap. A fundamental mismatch between driver and circuit. The data tells a completely different story. Mercedes' internal telemetry shows Russell's tyre degradation spikes 15% faster than Antonelli's on low-grip surfaces, a compounding disadvantage over race distance. Simulation models project a 0.3 to 0.5 second per lap deficit on these tracks, which translates to roughly 10 points lost per event. Toto Wolff's comment about managing expectations on certain circuits was not diplomacy, it was acknowledgement. If 3 races per season are Russell blind spots, Mercedes cannot afford to surrender those points while Verstappen closes in with momentum. And that pressure leads directly to the rookie carrying the weight of a title fight on his shoulders. Kimi Antonelli became the youngest championship leader in Formula One history at 19 years old, and the weight of that moment is heavier than any pole position trophy. He delivered a flawless qualifying lap in Miami, edging out a four-time world champion by 0.166 seconds. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. The sprint race just 24 hours earlier told a very different story. A messy start, a 5-second penalty for track limits, a drop from 4th on track to 6th in the results. Speed is one thing. Converting that speed into a win is another. Track limits. Enforcement in 2026 is stricter because active aero systems monitor every corner exit, and Antonelli's aggressive style triggers more alerts than his veteran rivals. Mercedes defended their rookie, saying the start issue was procedural, not driver error. But penalties do not care about intent. Qualifying proves you can be fast, racecraft proves you can be champion, and that gap between the two is where titles are won or lost. If Sunday's race brings rain, Antonelli faces conditions he has never experienced as a leader, with the world watching every move. And that uncertainty leads directly to the wild card that could rewrite the entire race script. The forecast for Miami's Grand Prix just changed everything. An 88% chance of rain and a 53% threat of thunderstorms triggered the first ever rain hazard rule in Formula One history. Max Verstappen, one of the sport's most decorated wet weather drivers, now has a variable that favors experience over raw qualifying speed. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. This rule was written for a problem that only exists in 2026, and it could decide the championship before a single drop falls. When rain disables the active aero system, cars run at ride heights optimized for a system that is offline, creating a real risk that the wooden plank underneath wears through and triggers automatic disqualification. The new rule allows teams to adjust ride height and front wing settings, but the rear wing stays locked in qualifying spec. Florida's Lightning Protocol adds another layer. Any strike within 13 kilometers pauses the event and resets a 30-minute safety clock. A wet race compresses the field, creates safety car opportunities, and rewards the drivers who can read changing conditions faster than anyone else. Verstappen has built his reputation on exactly that skill. But does experience outweigh the raw speed that put Antonelli on pole when chaos hits? And that question leads directly to how Miami's result rewrites the math behind Verstappen's future. Max Verstappen's contract contains a clause that could free him from Red Bull by October, and Miami just changed the math behind it. He must finish second or better in the championship at the summer break after Hungary, or he can activate an exit option. Before Miami, he sat 9th, 60 points behind leader Kimi Antonelli, a gap that felt impossible to close. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. That 0.166 second qualifying gap was not just a lap time, it was the first signal that the trajectory might flip before the deadline. If Red Bull's upgrade curve continues, gaining roughly 0.5 seconds per lap every 3 races, Verstappen could be fighting for wins by Spain and challenging for the lead by Hungary. Reliability and strategy become the new variables that decide whether the clause matters. The exit window runs from August to October, meaning every race from now until Silverstone carries double weight, not just for points, but for psychological momentum. If Verstappen wins 2 of the next 3 races, the exit conversation disappears and Mercedes' psychological advantage evaporates. Belief is the fastest car on the grid, and Miami proved that Red Bull's belief is returning. And that momentum leads directly to the 3 plausible paths this championship can now take. Max Verstappen faces 3 possible futures after Miami, and Sunday's race will choose one. Win, and the gap to Antonelli shrinks below 30 points, silencing exit talk. Lose to a dominant Mercedes, and the pressure returns to Red Bull's garage. Let rain shuffle the order, and experience becomes the ultimate weapon. The next upgrade windows in Austria and Silverstone will amplify whatever momentum this race creates. A veteran team principal once said, "One weekend can rewrite a season's narrative." Miami proved that right. The top 4 teams qualified within 0.14 seconds, a density not seen all season. Ferrari waits quietly on the podium, ready to capitalize if anyone above stumbles. McLaren's speed is real, but their energy system remains a question mark. Every fan tribe finds hope here. Data for the analysts, drama for the casuals, opportunity for the underdogs. But the championship now hinges on a single variable. Not on a single lap time, but on the choices teams make when pressure mounts. Verstappen knows this game. Antonelli is learning it. Mercedes must protect a lead that no longer feels secure. The real story was never about who started first, it was about who finishes strongest. In Formula One, the margin between dominance and desperation was never measured in tenths, it was measured in moments. And Miami just created one.